Hi, my name's Kirsten and I'm going to talk about whole class ensemble teaching in the primary school. Now, I come at this as someone who was a secondary music specialist. I now work in a prep school, so I teach from EYFS all the way up to the end of year 8. So some of the big questions and worries around curriculum sequencing in the primary school as far as music goes are what, when, why, how, and who is going to be responsible for music teaching in the primary school. I see quite worrying things on Twitter and on Facebook sometimes with people saying, I have been told that I am going to be the music coordinator for my school next year, and I have no idea what I'm doing. This person has no musical background, they don't even sing in a choir, and they have been told that this is going to be their responsibility. And when you have Ofsted coming in and doing deep dives on subjects, that is something that would worry anyone if they were given any responsibility for any subject they don't have a background in. From a school perspective, some of the things that are worrying is timetable pressures. Where do you put it, especially in upper key stage 2 when you're working towards SATs? You've got tight budgets. So can you even afford to support music teaching in your school? Have you got a lack of musically skilled staff in the school, or do your staff lack confidence in their ability to teach music? So what do you need to teach in primary school music? In Key Stage 1, you need to cover singing untuned instruments and tuned instruments. So this can be covered with something like a glockenspiel. In terms of Key Stage 2 performing, we need to have solo and ensemble opportunities, and that's where whole class teaching can become really helpful. When? Well, at Key Stage 1, a good quality session once a week is a really, really good base. At Key Stage 2, it is a little bit more time pressured, especially with things like SATs. So whilst weekly sessions are still the best approach, it might not be feasible. Why? Why not? Okay, so the most important bit really is the how. And this is where people get really hung up if they're not a music specialist. So at Key Stage 1, whole class singing assemblies, the Charanga website. Start with a Story books by Anne Bryan are fantastic, where the students work through a story chapter at a time. There's a song to go with each chapter, there are listening activities, there's rhythmic activities to go with each chapter, and it's really, really enjoyable. At Key Stage 2, whole class ensemble teaching either once a week or in a block of 2 sessions a week for half the year can be really, really helpful. So you need to choose your instrument wisely. It needs to be easy to make initial progress on, it needs to be inexpensive, and it needs to be portable because you want the students to take it home to practice. So let's say hello to your new friend, the recorder. Now, I've always been a little bit anti-recorder. I did recorder when I was in primary school and never really liked it that much. As a secondary school music teacher, I didn't see it that much, especially not in schools in England. I saw it once or twice in Scotland, and my overriding memory of it is just seeing 20 recorders upside down in a tub of Milton disinfectant solution in a classroom. And I always thought, well, what's the point? Because they're not taking it home to practice. So that's why I've got a selection of recorders here. So you've got the Yamaha recorder, and this is a really, really popular one. It's a very good recorder. And it gives you really, really good quality sound, get good standard of intonation on it. But one of the things that I find that it's quite difficult sometimes to get the really lower notes on it. See? I struggle a little bit with keeping those lower notes in tune. So if you've got little people with little fingers, I have been trying this one this year. And this is the Nuvo Recorder Plus, and it's got little rubber keys, if you can see, which cover the holes, which most recorders don't have. And this obviously helps to ensure a good seal on the holes, because if you don't cover the holes properly, then you're not going to get the correct note. So that makes it a little bit easier. Okay, especially because you can get all the way down to the bottom. My pinky's not really covering that bottom hole. So if I was playing on a proper recorder, that wouldn't cover the hole. But on this one, because I'm touching the key, it does cover it. This is really good for the little ones. And I've noticed, it's made a massive difference with my year twos compared to the year threes who are playing on these ones. But it does make it more difficult for as you're getting more complicated pieces of music. And I was trying to play something for my year sixes that had E flats in it, and I found it quite difficult. So that's the downside of that one. So that brings me on to this one. This is the Chord Descant recorder. It's £4 from Amazon. Now, the intonation is everything you'd expect for £4. But I do find it easier to play those lower notes, much easier than the more expensive, better sounding Yamaha. The reason this one is currently my favourite is because it is only £4 and we want music to be accessible. We want to not put parents off right from the get-go. And this is something that most parents would be able to afford, or most school budgets would be able to provide for the boys or the students. So what are you actually going to teach them once you've chosen your recorder? Well, I've picked the three main ones that are available. We've got Charanga, you've got Twinkle, or something more traditional like Sarah Watt's Red Hot Recorder book. Twinkle, if you already have a school subscription, is quite a good resource, but I wouldn't pay for it just to get the recorder course. Charanga is really affordable. It will never be more than £295 plus VAT for a primary school, according to their website. And most primary schools are only £195 plus VAT. You've got 2 recorder courses, plus violin, guitar, djembe, glockenspiel, and your reception to year 6 schemes of work, lesson plans, listening exercises, a whole host of things. Charanga is very much worth the money. I would get Charanga just to provide all of my music across the school, but I would also go for something like Sarah Watt's Red Hot Recorder book. It's a good old-fashioned recorder tutor book. It's got your pupil book comes with the CD. It can go home. The students can practice from home. There's no bells and whistles though. There's no interactive opportunities, so you do need to put it underneath the visualizer at the front of the classroom. That's something that I do in my classroom because our boys at Key Stage 1 and 2 sit on the floor cross-legged, and I do not want them looking down at the floor at their books. It's a bit of a faff to get music stands out, and you can't really put them down at the correct height for a little boy sitting on the floor. So I always put the music up on the board, then the boys' the eye level is up at you, it's up at the board. There's no fidgeting with flicking through the book. There is a teacher piano part available if you have the skills to accompany. If you don't, the CD comes with most tracks in 2 different speeds, a practice speed and a performance speed. So who's going to actually provide this? Well, any staff member can teach music in the primary school as long as they have support and the training to build their skills. You would expect support and training to teach phonics, to teach numeracy, to teach science in the primary school, to teach languages, so why not to teach music? Speak to your head teacher. Say, I'd like to do this, but I need a little bit of support to make sure I'm doing the right thing. Music hubs can provide a great service, and they can be brought into the school to provide that training or to lead the sessions themselves. It is obviously a more expensive option than having somebody in-house do it. Or you could join up the local secondary school to see if they can provide some of their specialist staff to give you PPA cover in the primary school. But I am a big advocate of doing it yourself, having those skills to support your students across all subjects. Key points for you to think about: be confident in your own abilities. Do not be afraid to ask for support and training. Ensure that you use musical terminology correctly from the very beginning. Ask if you're not sure. And give enough time for students to practice their skills. Sarah Watt's book could last 2 years if you throw in some listening and Christmas tunes too. So all that remains for me to say is a big thank you to Graham for allowing me to present to you today. And if you've got any questions, if you want some advice, some help on setting up whole class ensemble teaching in your school, then get in touch with me via Twitter at Teach Music London.